favorite song. Say after me, I won't waste one more minute of my life. Say it. I won't waste one more minute. There is not really a minute to waste. Now, I like to call myself a purveyor of possibility. I have a master's degree in making stuff up. And I'm going to confer upon you today a master's degree in making stuff up. Because if you're not making stuff up, then what are you doing? Right? So, thank you, Big Love Band. You're amazing. That song, by the way, is by a friend of mine named Jamie Lula. And he wrote that song and sang that song when I was in the middle of, what would be the right word? When I was in the middle of awakening, in the middle of transforming my sick. There's someone in the room here who said that my life was a beautiful cage that I created for myself, but it was still a cage. Do you know what I'm talking about? You know, where you're doing all the right things, you're doing everything your parents want you to do, your loved ones want you to do, society says you should do, you're having conversations that people around you want to have, even though you don't want to have them, and living but not thriving, surviving but not thriving, living but not really living the life you were meant to live, the life God wants you to live, which is a life of splendor, a life of transcendence, a life, as Mary Morrissey would say, a life that you love. Now, possible and impossible are two very, impossible means not possible. Possible means possible. For the most part, we kind of tend to hang out in impossibility land. And for good reason. There are lots of good reasons why things aren't possible. Yes, you can't sell your house because the real estate market's down. You can't change jobs because for what you have your own reasons. Why you can't do that. Why you can't have a relationship. Why you can't lose those 10 pounds. We laugh because that's really, I think at the moment when I said I will not waste one more minute of my life, I had spent probably, I used to be a little chubbier than now, but I think I spent my entire 20s and 30s trying to lose 10 pounds. My whole life was about losing 10 pounds. Do you realize that I went to Italy and did not eat pasta or ice cream? Is that the waste of a life or what? I mean, who even cares about 10 pounds? When you go to Italy, you have to eat pasta and gelato, right? Yes. Oh, wrong one. Ooh, wrong one. This one. Whether you say it is possible or whether you say it is impossible, you are right. Now, let's go back for a minute. We are a science of mind community. The science of mind is a philosophy, faith, and way of life created by Dr. Ernest Holmes many, many years ago, that there are centers all around the world still practicing this positive and affirmative philosophy, faith, and way of life. And the crux of this philosophy, faith, and way of life, in addition to the understanding that we are surrounded by a loving intelligence that is for us and not against us, that lives within us as well as surrounds us. We say, I think the easiest way to say this is, even though I'm not all that God is, so God is more than me, but all that I am has been made by this loving, generous intelligence. So there's that. But the most important part when it comes to possibility thinking is that the tool of creation is our thoughts. That we did not give ourselves our own brain or our own being, and we have the power through our attitudes, our beliefs, what we say to ourselves over and over again. we have the ability to create anything we want to create. So we are not stuck. We're not, no matter what your childhood was like, no matter what it's like, been like up to this very minute, don't waste one more minute of your life. Don't dabble over here in impossibility thinking. You know, Alice in Wonderland, remember Alice? Alice said, "There is no use trying," says Alice. "One cannot believe in impossible things." And that sentiment, this whole whimsical book, but that sentiment is really the sentiment, one cannot believe in impossible things. And the world would tell us that that's true. You know, one cannot believe in a world of peace, in a world with no conflict, in a world where there's no hunger, in a world where there's no violence. I mean, who can believe in those impossible things? Because it's been that way for so long, and we are evidence-based beings. So as soon as we have evidence that something is not possible or isn't going to work, we accept it, and then we go on kind of making do with what we have. But I say that's kind of a waste of what we can really do, individually and collectively. I mean, there is no limit to, collectively, there's no limit. You know, I, as a metaphysician, here's what I think. I think it's way more simple than we believe it to be. And I think it's a matter of weight. So a matter of, what are these? Scales. So if the whole world, if we were the whole world, if we were the entire world, and let's say there's, I don't know, 50 people in here, 60 people in here maybe, if 40 of you believe in fear, worry, doubt, lack, hunger, violence, and 40 of you believe in love and peace and joy, what will outpicture more often than love, peace, and joy is fear, worry, doubt, and lack. The majority wins. So what we're working to do in this room always, and in all rooms like this around the world, is to change the equation so that we can release from within our own consciousness fear, doubt, worry, and lack, retribution, anger, resentment, unforgiveness. We have to do it here. We have to do it here. So when you do it here, two things happen. One is your life gets better, and it will get better. When you're no longer angry, your life will be happier and more joyful. When you're no longer holding on to resentments from 26 and a half years ago, you will have created some space for something new to happen. More importantly, when you change, your vote gets added to the right side of the scale, so that you, as in our mission statement, then become a part of the solution on our planet and no longer a part of the problem. We must realize, I was playing mahjong with someone yesterday who's deeply invested, who's the right way to say it, who's deeply invested in the fear running rampant in our world. And it shows up for her in her conversation, shows up for her in her feeling, in her level of happiness and well-being, because a happy world feels impossible and not possible. And how do we flip that switch so that we can be on the other side of that kind of dread, existential dread? Do you all know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So part of the bridge to a better place, to making stuff up that you want, I think I've told this story before, but I remember, so you realize the future hasn't happened yet, right? Do you realize that? The future is not predictable. The future is not inevitable. The future has not been created yet. Left unattended, there is a tendency for what has been to become what will be, yes? But that's only a tendency. It's not a rule. So if the next step is going to be different than the last step, it really is up to you to say so. And because part of this philosophy is that we, you and I, this is so simple but so complicated, you and I, through the power of our intention, the power of our commitment, the power of our making stuff up, we move molecules around. We move them, we call them, we rearrange them. You know, they have done so many studies to prove that this universe is not physically connected, it's mentally connected. You can pray over a plant and it will grow. You can pray to heal a person on the other side of the world and it will. But part of this is you have to believe it. You have to believe it. So the Queen says, of course, I dare say, Alice, you haven't had much practice. When I was younger, I always did it for half an hour a day. Why, sometimes I believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. And the magic in your life, the mystical part of your life, the miraculous synchronicities in your life are going to come from your thinking impossible things and holding the space of possibility. I didn't finish my future. I was living in Los Angeles. I was the manager of a department. One of my employees came back from lunch crying, inconsolable. This is a true story. Inconsolable, crying. And it's like, Sue, what's wrong? What's wrong? What happened during lunch? Well, I was driving down the 405 and there was a German Shepherd on the freeway. It's like, oh, did it get hit? No. Well, why are you crying? Well, I knew it was going to. Well, no, it's kind of a reasonable idea, right? It's kind of a reasonable. Have you ever been on the 405 in Los Angeles? I wouldn't want to be a German Shepherd on the 405 in Los Angeles. But I said to her, so you didn't see anything happen? No. Okay. I said, so why don't you imagine that a pickup truck from San Bernardino County was driving on the freeway, and they saw this dog, and they miraculously stopped traffic and put the German Shepherd in the back of their pickup truck and took it back to San Bernardino because their female German Shepherd had just lost her companion, and now he's got a girlfriend and a place to live. And she argued with me. And I said, but you have to make it up. Why don't you make up something that you like? Make up a story that you want. Because in the matrix we live in, anything can happen. Anything is possible. But only if you say so. Now, let's unpack this for just a second. It's very easy to think that we're human beings, that you are just a bag of bones, right? This, like a sausage. Like, here's some skin, and inside the skin is bones and blood and vessels. And you are that. You are an embodied spirit. You are. And God, in all of her glory and grace, gave us these wonderful tools to experience the beauty and wonder of this planet. Could you imagine not being able to taste chocolate? Can you imagine not being able to see a dolphin go like this in the river? You know, or to touch or to smell. So we have these senses that we use to navigate and experience and express in these bodies. Now, but you know that here, I know that you're not just a body. You are you are also simultaneously a disembodied spirit. You are a spirit, not only occupying this body, but also simultaneously observing the body. But because that's true, you have spiritual senses, vision, imagination, will, intuition, and insight, which are equally as real and equally as powerful. So how we, in the science of mind, what we do is we look at the condition, because we're really quite intelligent people to study such a lofty philosophy, faith, and way of life. So we can look at the world and see the condition. I see the suffering. I see the hunger. I see the violence. I see the stupid, right? But we see all that. But we don't really we don't want to pay too much attention to that, because what happens to what you pay attention to? What happens to what you pay attention to? It grows. Right? So we do what we call turn away from the condition. Doesn't mean pretend it's not there, but don't give it any more power. Don't you give it power. You give what you want to have power. And you can't do it by condemning the condition, no matter how stupid it is. Right? You can't meet stupid with stupid, because then all you get is what? More stupid, dumb and dumber. You can't meet violence with violence. You can't meet hate with hate. You can't meet resentment with resentment, because all that does is create violence. All that does is create separation. All that does is create fear. And all that fear and separation creates is more violence. So you're charged with cleaning up your own backyard, and purging yourself of any of that. And you can do it. I did it. You can do it. Now, my childhood wasn't any better than yours. I don't like the world sometimes any more than you do. But what I know with absolute faith is that if I will make up stuff I want and move in the direction of those dreams, and monitor myself. You have to stand guard at your own mentality, because if you don't, the TV will get to you. The news will get to you. So, we say here, if you can't watch the news without hearing it as a request for prayer, don't watch the news. If it inflames you, don't watch it. If it angers you, don't watch it. If it makes you sick, don't watch it. Don't watch it till you can watch and bring light to the news. Send love over there. Send peace over there. Send possibility over there. And just to know within yourself, anything is possible. So in Matthew 17:20, he said, "And he said to them, because of the littleness of your faith, for truly I say to you, if you have the faith the size of a what? A mustard seed," so tiny, "you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you." This is a quantum physical truth. That if you and I believed we could walk on water, we could. If you and I believed that we could end world hunger, we would. So it's a matter of faith, unshakable faith, because the conditions will try to convince you otherwise. But who we are, the kind of being that we are, made in the image and likeness of supreme intelligence, made in the image and likeness of the one who created, God said, let there be light, and there was light. God said, let there be people, there were people. God said, let there be elephants, there were elephants. God has created an entire cosmos, including us. But we're a little bit different than an elephant, and a little bit different than a rock, in that we have consciousness. We can think, we can decide, we can direct, we can make stuff up. And the stuff that we make up will come to pass if we have enough faith. Also, Mark 11:24, he says, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. So, when if you take the prosperity class, your pocketbook may only have a little bit of money in it, maybe not enough money to pay the rent, I don't know, maybe more money than you need, who knows? But when you first begin to change your consciousness, whether it's about relationship or about money or about health, and all of this is up for healing, by the way. There is nothing too big. In God, all things are possible. There is nothing unhealable in this world. Nothing. If you but believe and have faith and walk in the direction of your faith. It's so much easier. Don't you agree? It's quite easier when we put it all on other people. Like, I can have more money as soon as somebody smart enough gives me a job. Or I'd have more money if my parents didn't leave it all to my younger sister. Or whatever. Or I'll be healthy as soon as, I don't know, I find the right doctor. And yes, I think health is as easily healable as is financial woes, as are relationship woes, housing woes, anything that ails us through the right attitude, the right commitment, the right focus, it can and will. That will be the mountain you move. All right. So you're charged with this week. So this is the end of our month on transcendent purpose. October is glow up. Isn't that cute? Like I like grow up. I remember one time being with Marianne Williamson at a conference or a New Year's Eve thing in Los Angeles at the Ebell Theater, and I think the theme for her New Year's Eve thing was grow up, and she was really just killing us. Like, just grow up. You are grown-ass adults. Act like it, right? Stop being such big babies. It's like you have a whole world to change out there. Now, I probably won't say all that to you next week, but glow up. So this month has really been about anchoring ourselves in a higher purpose than just putting food in our mouths, clothes on our backs, and money in the bank. And all of that, we have to do all of that, and all that's easy for God, to tell you the truth. Food, money, housing. If we're still struggling over that, stop it, because it's easy for God. Money, housing, and food is easy. So the invitation is really to move into a higher why, why am I here? What is mine to do here? And how do you end up at the end of your human incarnation? Mind you, it's not the end of you, it's just the end of your human incarnation. So complete, so satisfied with yourself. Like, I did what I came here to do. I did it. I loved people. I cared about people. I let people care about me. I made a difference in the sphere of influence that I had. I didn't want to spend 80 years trying to lose 10 pounds. It would have been a waste, right? It would have been like, wow, I'm going to go to heaven a little chubby. Who cares? All right. After me. Not now. After me. Today, I'm going to imagine 3 new things for my life and believe that they are possible. Really? Yeah. Do you already have them in mind? Perfect. And so it is. My work here is done. You all have master's degrees in making stuff up. All right. All right, so let's just do a little bit of prayer. Let's just do a little bit of prayer. You know, prayer, our form of prayer is affirmative prayer or scientific prayer because we're not praying to a reluctant deity. We're not begging God to do something for us that hasn't already been done. Where our prayers come from a more faithful place of really accepting more and more every day that we did not make ourselves, we did not make this planet, we're not responsible for the big stuff. You know, God's got the trees and the planets. Our job is to raise consciousness. Our job is to let love move through us and every day, in every way possible. And so we begin at the beginning, which is to simply recognize God, recognize a transcendent power with no name and every name. It doesn't matter what you call it, that made the sunsets and the bees and the trees and us. And that it is intelligent, and that it is generous, and that it is loving, and that it adores us. And that we can no more be separate from it than our breath, that it is within us. It's at the very center of our being. I would say that God and I are one. And everything that means, God as love and I are one, God as creativity and I are one, God as the power to create and I are one. And as this is true for me, I know it's true for every person in this room, every person within the sound of my voice. There is no human being on this planet who does not have the seed of divinity within them, that they are one with that which created them, whether they know it or don't know it. Doesn't make it not true. And so I know from this place of connection with that which is good, grand, and wonderful, that I can speak my word and move some molecules around for each and every person in this room. To simply claim your power and your ability to create a life that you love, to architect a future that you want, and to participate in the construction of a new world and a new earth and a new way. For we will not always be here, and our children and our grandchildren, our great-great-grandchildren are coming up right behind us. And what I know is that we can do our part to repudiate lovelessness and to build a culture of love, personally, in our families, our communities, and our organizations. And so how grateful I am that we can change, how grateful I am that we have the power, how grateful I am that we can learn and that we can choose and that we can direct our energy in constructive and wonderful ways. And so as I release this word into the manifesting principle of life, knowing that it is touching not only our hearts, but hearts wherever they are receptive to being touched, and that they matter, and that something good comes from the words spoken today. And so we can leave this time of prayer expecting and accepting a demonstration, a manifestation, and a result, and we do so with joy, knowing that all is well with our souls. Please anchor this with me by saying together, and so it is, amen. All right.